A tactical response. That's what you need to take in a personal or home defense event. A pistol that is highly capable of supporting you in your tactical response is always highly treasured. Stick with me for a bit as I introduce you to an excellent tactical response pistol that can be with you in your time of need. The Springfield Armory 1911 Tactical Response Pistol, chambered in .45 ACP. Well, where to begin with the features of the TRP? Well, why don't I start at the front end and go from there? Aside from the big hole of the 5-inch .45 caliber barrel's muzzle, front end tells us that the TRP incorporates a full-length guide rod, a device that probably separates gun folks into two groups, those that love them and those that don't love them. Having personally exchanged standard guide rods with FLGRs on several 1911 pistols, I can say that I have witnessed better accuracy with them over standard guide rods. That's not to say that you can make a 1911 a tack driver by simply installing an FLGR. It is simply saying that accuracy is improved. The FLGR in this TRP is a two-piece unit, straight from the factory. I will say that I do not care for a two-piece FLGR, as it does add a step to the disassembly and reassembly of the pistol for maintenance, and it might be prone to loosening during live fire. With that aside, The two-piece FLGR seems to do the job it was intended to do: improve accuracy. I'll talk about that during the range session. Getting to the slide itself, front-forward serrations make it easy for those who prefer to press check from the front of the slide or who wish to cycle the slide from the front rather than from the rear. Those front serrations are deeply cut and do make for a great finger hold on the slide. Atop the front of the slide is a Trigicon night sight that is perfectly blended into the slide and secured not only by the slide, but with a very small set screw as well. Black front sight also provides a nice contrast to the satin finish of the slide. Following those front serrations to the rear, there is, on the left side, model and caliber. On the right side, there is the manufacturer's logo and the manufacturer's name, Springfield Armory. The ejection port has been lowered and flared, in keeping with modern practices. The outside of the barrel's chamber is stamped with SA 45 Auto, and just to the rear of that stamping is a very tiny inspection hole where, if you look very closely, you can tell if there is a cartridge chambered or not. Personally, I feel that there is no need for an inspection port, but that is my opinion. One major point is that the TRP has an internal extractor, just as John Moses Browning intended, and, as you will see, does its job quite well during live fire. An abundance of forward-cut rear slide serrations ensures a positive grip when manipulating the slide, as was also intended by John Moses Browning. At the rear of the slide, on both sides, TRP is stamped very nicely as to not detract from the pistol's appearance. Just above the TRP is a fixed ramp-style Trigicon night sight that, because of its design, is very prominent to the eyes despite the small size of the two dots. Those two dots really pop and are very quick to get to eye level. Front sight, however, does not share the same optical characteristics, in that it is not as bright as the rear sight dots. The rear sight, you might notice, is also black and a nice contrast to the slide. The three-position hammer, rest, half-cock, or sometimes referred to as the safety notch, and full cock, share almost the same finish as the slide, and not the usual black color for contrast. It is, however, a flat finish rather than a satin finish. It adds a tri-colored look to the overall pistol. The hammer is a skeletonized affair, with prominent serrations for cocking or decocking the pistol if needed. Here you can see how close the slide to frame fit there is. If it not for a different finish of the rear of the internal extractor, it would be difficult to tell where it is located. There is absolutely no slide play regardless of what the hammer position is, or when the slide is locked all the way to the rear. The TRP is one tight fitted 1911. Moving on to the frame, you can see that the front dust cover is standard, and with the slide lock to the rear, you can see the substantial FLGR. In initial appearance, one would think that the FLGR is a one-piece unit. Trust me, it is not. More on that later. At the left front of the frame, Tactical is displayed in very large letters, while the manufacturer's information, including the unit serial number, is stamped amidship on the frame right behind the slide stop pin, which, by the way, prominently protrudes out from the frame. You may also note that although Tactical is prominently stamped into the frame, there is no accessory rail. That, personally, I have no use for. If you do desire an accessory rail, the new family of TRP pistols have it. The frame's left side controls consist of the slide lock, magazine button, and thumb safety, all in their usual positions. The slide lock is extended and easy to manipulate. Although not intended to release the slide from a full lock to the rear position, hence its name, it can be used to do so. The 1911 was designed to chamber by pulling the slide to the rear to unlock it and then releasing the slide to strip and chamber a live round from the magazine. As a side note, the slide does take some strength to unlock. Folks with weakened or compromised hand strength may find it easier to manipulate the slide using the front slide serrations rather than the rear slide serrations. The left side only magazine button is extended and serrated, and is stiff enough so as not to be pressed accidentally during firing. In fact, it does take some effort to press in when needing to release a magazine. However, magazines do release quickly and drop freely from the magazine well, an important thing to have when needing a fast reload. Ambidextrous and very prominent thumb safety levers are present. Both thumb safety levers are extended and serrated for the best possible surface when pushing into the fire position. There is enough material for the thumb to get under the levers, push into the safe position. The thumb safety is very easy to push into either the safe or fire positions, albeit on the stiff side, until they are broken in. The grip safety incorporates an excellent extension and what is called a memory bump. That is more of a ledge than a bump. If you'd like to get as high on the grip as possible and ride the thumb safety lever as I do when firing, this ledge ensures that the grip safety will be disengaged fully when doing so. Note that, as with the hammer, finish of the thumb and grip safeties are flat. Not that it matters any, but it is about the pistol's aesthetics, which is not only pleasing, but businesslike as well. The rear and front of the grip is a hand-grabbing 20 lines per inch checkering that really can leave an impression after a range day of firing, but is welcomed during firing. The original grip panels on the TRP were a nicely checkered black G10 type that definitely said tactical in every sense. As a personal touch, the standard grip panels were replaced with a set of 1911 Government Classic panel double diamond checkered with fancy borders in dark walnut from the Altamont Company. Not only do they look great and feel great, but they also add a bit of class to the TRP, in my humble opinion. Diamond checkering coupled with the grip frame serrations really do keep the hand in place. The only change to the grip that I would like to make is to add an M1911A1 arch mainspring housing that better fits in my hand, but this one will have to do, at least for now. At the bottom of the grip frame is an extended magazine well that does, well, make inserting a magazine easy with very nice beveling, while protecting the bumper pads of those magazines that have them. The TRP comes with 3 magazines with bumper pads, but can also accommodate those without them. Moving to the trigger, we find that within that what seems to be normal size no undercut trigger housing resides a skeletonized aluminum serrated flat-faced medium pull trigger with over travel adjustment screw. This type of trigger is found more commonly than not on 1911 variants these days. With this TRP never being fired, the trigger pull weight is coming in at 3 pounds 9.2 ounces with a 5-pull average. As 1911 triggers go, there is a slight take-up before resistance is felt, after which there's a very minute bit of drag until the hammer falls. Break, however, is crisp, and with no hint of trigger over travel. I suspect that after use, the trigger pull will smooth out and the pull weight will lessen, as with all triggers after use. While I can't call the trigger pull exceptional yet, it may turn out to be, after it is broken in with a lot of use. Well, the only thing left to discuss regarding TRP features is that this TRP is an exceptionally good-looking 1911. It is an all stainless steel, heavy, and full size. It has a nice tri-colored look to it, that belies its intent, tactful use. In other words, this TRP is a hand-filling piece and modern interpretation of the most famous fighting pistol of all time, the John Moses Browning designed, 1911. When I take you to the range with me, you will see why the 1911 remains a protector of life, limb, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness when shooting one. But first, and I know that you are interested in how the factory-installed two-piece FLGR affects the disassembly and reassembly of the TRP. So, let me tell you all about it. What you see is a fully disassembled for routine maintenance Springfield Armory TRP 1911. Okay, you've seen it. Let's go to the range. Just kidding. I really need to take you down the maintenance path of the TRP, so let me get to it. Safety is always first before beginning any maintenance on any firearm. Performing a safety check is a very easy process. Point the pistol in a safe direction. Remove the magazine. Move the slide to the rear and lock it into place with the slide lock. Any round chambered should be extracted and ejected. Visually inspect the chamber and magazine area to ensure that no ammunition is present. Remove all live ammunition from the immediate vicinity. Now, disassembling of the pistol can begin. For the TRP, you will need the provided Allen and bushing wrench. Also, be aware that the recoil spring is under immense pressure, and safety glasses should be worn to protect the eyes just in case the recoil spring or guide rod collar should unleash its energy unexpectedly. To disassemble the TRP, perform what follows. Use the provided Allen wrench to remove the front portion of the full-length guide rod. Turn the outer portion of the guide rod counterclockwise to loosen. The outer portion of the guide rod assembly is not under spring tension, so don't worry about that. Remove the front portion of the guide rod. Pull the hammer to the full cock position. Place the thumb safety to the up safe position. Use the bushing wrench to remove the guide rod collar. Place the pistol on a soft surface with the barrel pointed upward, but away from your face. Firmly support the pistol with your left hand, assuming that you are right-handed. Press down on the bushing wrench to compress the recoil spring and lower the guide rod collar. Turn the bushing clockwise until the bushing covers about half of the guide rod collar. Remove the bushing wrench. Push down on the guide rod collar with your thumb while rotating the barrel bushing in the clockwise direction. Do not release pressure on the guide rod bushing, as the recoil spring is under extreme spring tension. Once the barrel bushing is clear of the guide rod collar, slowly release the spring tension of the recoil spring. When the recoil spring tension is completely released, remove the guide rod collar. The recoil spring will remain attached to the guide rod and the slide will move freely on the frame. Place the thumb safety in the down fire position. Move the slide to the rear and align the takedown disassembly notch with the slide stop. Press the slide stop shaft on the right side of the slide and remove the slide stop by pulling it out of the left side. Pull or push the slide forward off of the frame. The barrel and the recoil spring and guide rod will come with it. Remove the guide rod and recoil spring through the back of the slide. Rotate the barrel bushing counterclockwise to its removal notch. Remove the barrel bushing. Tilt the barrel length forward and remove the barrel through the front of the slide. This completes the disassembly for routine maintenance. At this point, I could take you through the cleaning, inspection, and lubricating process, but I leave that up to you, as everyone has their own way of doing these things. The only thing that I would recommend is that if you are not familiar with cleaning, inspecting, and lubricating a Springfield Armory 1911, you should refer to the 1911 Operation and Safety Manual that comes with the pistol, or which can be viewed and downloaded from the Springfield Armory website. Since the TRP is now disassembled, let's take a look at the individual components. A 5-inch stainless steel matte grade 1 16th twist rate barrel of the John Moses Browning swing link design is used and properly fitted with a stainless steel barrel bushing. A full-length stainless steel 2-piece guide rod contributes to the TRP's accuracy. Barrel lockup is tight as a drum due to the excellently machined barrel locking points. A bullish internal extractor ensures positive extraction of fired cartridge cases. Built to the 70 series platform, the TRP offers the best of triggers for the best of operational characteristics of a 1911 pistol. Reassembling the TRP is the same as with any 1911 pistol, with the caveat of installing the front of the 2-piece guide rod. But just for the sake of things, let me take you through it. Place the barrel swing link down against the barrel. Install the barrel into the slide from the front of the pistol. Ensure that it locks into place within the slide. Install the barrel bushing. Insert it into the slide and rotate it clockwise until it stops. With the recoil spring attached to the rear of the guide rod, insert this assembly into the slide from the rear. Ensure that the saddle of the guide rod rests against the bottom of the barrel. Place the barrel swing link up. With the slide upside down, assemble the slide to the frame just enough to where the front bottom of the slide just enters the frame. Lay the slide and frame on a flat working surface. Move the slide to the rear within the frame until you can see the swing link through the slide lock pin hole. Insert the slide lock pin into the frame and swing link, just enough to capture the swing link. Move the slide to the rear and align the takedown disassembly notch with the slide stop. Lift the slide stop slightly and rotate it to the disassembly notch. Lifting the slide stop slightly will prevent scratching of the frame. Once the slide stop is aligned with the disassembly notch, press it straight in and down, which secures the slide lock securely. Since the hammer should have remained in the cocked position, place the thumb safety lever to the up safe position. This prevents the slide from moving to the rear during the process that follows. Position the muzzle of the barrel up and away from the face. Install the guide rod collar to the recoil spring. Using the thumb of one hand while supporting the pistol with the other, push down on the recoil guide collar to begin compressing the recoil spring. Push the guide rod collar down into the slide enough to capture the barrel bushing. While holding the guide rod collar in place with the thumb of one hand, use the other hand to rotate the barrel bushing counterclockwise, enough to capture about half of the guide rod collar. Using the bushing wrench to press down the guide rod collar, rotate the bushing wrench to completely capture the guide rod collar. Install the front half of the two-piece guide rod into the pistol. Use the provided 5/32 Allen wrench to install the front portion of the guide rod. Tighten only as needed to seat the two guide rod halves. Over-tightening is not recommended. Place the thumb safety to the down fire position. Cycle the slide several times to check for proper slide operation. Now, it's time to check for proper functioning. Function checking is a must to perform any time on a firearm prior to live firing. Function checking should be part of your pre-flight checklist. I use a couple of snap caps to help protect the firing pin and check for proper extraction, ejection, and locking back on an empty magazine. Your function check procedure may not use snap caps, and I leave that up to you. With that in mind, let's go through my function check procedure. Remove the magazine if installed. Ensure that the pistol and magazine is empty and safe before proceeding by locking back the slide completely to the rear. Remove any and all live ammunition from the immediate vicinity. As an option, install 2 snap caps into the magazine. Insert the snap cap loaded magazine into the pistol. Quickly pull and release the slide to chamber the first snap cap. The pistol is now in a firing condition. Leave the thumb safety down in the fire position. Without pressing the grip safety in, pull the trigger. The hammer should not fall. Move the thumb safety to the up safe position. Without pressing the grip safety in, pull the trigger. The hammer should not fall. While pressing the grip safety in, pull the trigger. The hammer should not fall. Place the thumb safety in the down fire position. While pressing the grip safety in, pull the trigger. The hammer should fall. Attempt to push the thumb safety into the up safe position. The safety should not move into the safe position. Pull the hammer to the half-cock position. Press the trigger. The hammer should not fall. Pull the hammer to the full cock position. Move the slide forcibly and completely to the rear. The first snap cap should be extracted and ejected. Release the slide to chamber the second snap cap. While using the finger pinch method, hold the hammer firmly while pulling and quickly releasing the trigger. The hammer should fall and stop at the half-cock position. Pull the hammer to the full cock position. While using the finger pinch method again, hold the hammer firmly while pulling and then holding the trigger completely to the rear. The hammer should fall all the way forward, bypassing the half-cock notch. Move the slide forcefully and completely to the rear. The second snap cap should be extracted and ejected, and the slide should lock to the rear due to the empty magazine. Remove the empty magazine. While holding the slide firmly, pull it to the rear to unlock it from the slide stop. Allow the slide to move slowly forward in small increments while repeatedly pulling the trigger. The hammer should not fall until the slide is fully into battery. This checks the disconnector operation. This completes the function check. If any step fails, do not live fire the pistol. Contact Springfield Armory Customer Service or a competent and licensed gunsmith, as the firearm is not safe to operate. With maintenance out of the way, let me take you to the range. Initially, the TRP is going to my indoor range for preliminary function and accuracy testing. I have no doubt that the TRP will be just fine with both. But while I have trust, I need to verify. I am happy that you could make the trip with me. Okay, I think that I'm at the point of boredom at my indoor range. I think, however, that the TRP needs more exercise in an environment suiting the TRP. Hang with me for just a bit more as I head to an outdoor range. I brought the TRP to my favorite outdoor range, as I felt steel targets would present more of a challenge for the TRP and my capabilities with it. So, here I go with the TRP, ringing steel. As my usual, I will be making comments during the range session and providing a range synopsis at the end of the session. I am stopping the range segment at this point to present how to properly and safely decock the 1911, or for that matter, any hammer-fired pistol that is without a decocking mechanism. I needed to take a break from shooting and did not want to simply engage the thumb safety and then set the pistol down on the shooting table with the muzzle pointed downrange until I was ready to shoot again. I opted rather to safe the firearm by first placing the thumb safety to the up safe position, remove the magazine, place the thumb safety to the down fire position, rack the slide to extract and eject the chambered live round, and then lock the slide back before placing it on the shooting table with the muzzle pointed downrange. This condition satisfies the range's safety requirements, ensuring that the pistol is safe for all concerned. I could have, in contrast, simply decocked the pistol with a live round chambered, and this is the safest way to do that. Hold the sides of the hammer firmly between the thumb and the side of the index finger of your offhand, and place the trigger finger of the offhand on the face of the hammer, and then pull and hold the trigger to the rear while easing the hammer down. This way, as the hammer is being securely lowered, the finger is acting as a cushion if the hammer slips. When I want to resume shooting, and if the first method is used, I simply insert a loaded magazine, cycle the slide to chamber the first round, set the thumb safety to the up safe position, acquire my target, drop the thumb safety to the down fire position, and continue to take on whatever target I choose. If I use the second method, I can simply pick up the pistol, point it in a safe direction, manually cock the hammer, set the thumb safety to the up safe position, fire my target, drop the thumb safety to the down fire position, and continue to take on whatever target I choose. Now, with decocking out of the way, let me get back to shooting this fine pistol. A 1911 pistol still remains one of the easiest pistols to conceal, even in full-size form, because of its slim profile. Note that I did not say the easiest to carry, as a full-size, full-weight 1911 can weigh heavily on a belt. To some, a lightweight version of the 1911 may be a better answer. This TRP, however, is far from being a lightweight, even when unloaded. There are many holsters in the marketplace for the 1911. I have 4 holsters that are my favorites for 1911 carry. The first being the Falco A112 Hawk holster. This IWB all-leather holster is excellent for behind-the-hip carry. I have this holster without a sweat guard because I don't want anything close to the thumb safety that might cause it to move from the safe to the fire position without my knowledge. My second favorite holster is the Craft Model CH4015 Raptor open top cross-draw holster. This holster is reserved for cool to cold weather carry, and although it is an OWB holster, it hides well under layers of clothing, yet provides easy access to the 1911. Another holster reserved for cool and cold weather carry is the Falco Rotor Shoulder Holster System, a unique holster in that it allows me to pivot the holster to the front for easier draw of the firearm, rather than pulling upward like many shoulder holsters. My final holster is the Alien Gear Cloak Tuck 3.0, which is what I use for either strong side behind the hip or cross-draw carry, and which can be set up for both in a very short time with little effort. In the cross-draw position, the butt of the pistol rides low, just above the belt line, thus lowering the profile of the pistol. All of the holsters are for full-size government model 1911s, like the TRP. They can also accommodate commander and officer-size 1911 pistols. I will note here that I augment my carry with a set of Perry suspenders that keeps my trousers up due to my getting old gluteus minimus backside, ongoing back issues, and midsection surgeries. Maybe that was too much information for you, but it is what it is. Your carry needs may vary from mine, and that's fine with me. The whole point being, you carry as you need, but safely and with minimal detection. There are a whole lot of people who don't favor the carrying of a firearm. Now, let me get into my final thoughts regarding the Springfield Armory TRP. This TRP model I own and is among the discontinued Springfield Armory TRPs, but a nearly identical model listed as the 1911 TRP 45 ACP handgun, stainless, CA compliant, is still available in the TRP line of pistols, along with 16 other models in both 9mm and 45 ACP chamberings, and are which available in various color finishes and configurations to include full-size and carry models. This TRP was one, along with the Cerakote finished model, that began the TRP line, and which was considered top of the line of the now defunct Springfield Armory Custom Shop. Whether you prefer a base style to the 1911 or more tactical style 1911, the TRP will fill your needs and hands with an excellent full-size, full-weight fighting handgun in your desired finish and configuration. Of the 1911 pistols I own, this TRP is one of my prized ones. It certainly was not inexpensive at the time I purchased it, and the same holds true today, but the quality put into this pistol is unmistakably excellent. Pair up the TRP with a Springfield Armory M1A1 rifle, and you would have one heck of a tactical response duo. Well, my friends, I thank you for being with me for this story, and I hope to see you again. Until our paths cross, as always, take care of yourself, stay vigilant, armed, and safe out there.